ऑफ कर रखा है उसको। रेखा, देन आरएस का ठीक है, एसएन का ठीक है, बाकी
काफी लोगों का वीडियो अभी भी चल रहा है, इसलिए आवाज में डिस्टरबेंस आएगा। जैसे मोमिन है, मैं देख रही हूँ जोशी भाई के भी है,
डॉक्टर रमेश धीमान आल्सो
है, धीमन साहब का भी वीडियो है।
now okay, that's good, very good. So now Dr. Sharma is with us, and he will speak. I'm again repeating. He will speak on entomological aspects of urban vector-borne diseases. Dr. Sharma, Dr. S.N. Sharma, now you can start. Share screen.
डॉक्टर शर्मा, आज बहुत ही ज्यादा डिस्टरबेंस है, आवाज ठीक से नहीं आ रही है।
Host disabled my actually participation sharing.
नहीं।
शेयर स्क्रीन
शेयर, वो ग्रीन बटन होगा, शेयर स्क्रीन, उस पर कर दीजिए।
और पहले प्रेजेंटेशन खोल लो अपना पहले।
नहीं, खोला हुआ है मैंने।
बस ठीक है, आ जाएगा।
शेयर स्क्रीन करेंगे, हरे वाले
डॉक्टर श्रीवास्तव, आप अपने तरफ से सबके वीडियो को म्यूट कर दीजिए ना।
कल्पना 3-4 बार कर चुका हूँ मैं।
ये लोग या तो सारे पार्टिसिपेंट को आप म्यूट कर दीजिए, हम लोगों को उधर से।
हाँ, सारा कर दो।
सारा स्पीकर को सिर्फ रखिए, स्पीकर को रखिए, क्योंकि कोई बात नहीं सुन रहे, सब अपना वीडियो ऑन करके बैठे हैं, इसलिए आवाज नहीं आ रहा। स्पीकर जो भी बोलेंगे कुछ नहीं सुनाई देगा। उजाला, आप अपना वीडियो बंद कीजिए। जोशी जी, अपना वीडियो बंद कीजिए। मोमिन, अपना वीडियो, क्लोज योर वीडियो।
श्रीवास्तव साहब, आपने डिसेबल किया हुआ है स्क्रीन शेयरिंग के लिए, काइंडली चेक इट। आपने हेलो
नहीं,
डॉक्टर श्रीवास्तव, इट इज एक्चुअली ब्लॉक्ड बाय यू, शेयर स्क्रीन।
ठीक है, ओपन करो।
नहीं, हमारी तरफ से ओपन हो चुका है।
एक बार और कर दो। शर्मा जी कह रहे हो नहीं रहे उधर से।
एक सेकंड।
हाँ, दोबारा कर दो।
अब ये होस्ट की तरफ से दिखा रहा है सर, डिसेबल्ड पार्टिसिपेंट्स स्क्रीन शेयरिंग। हु इज कंट्रोलिंग इट? काइंडली ओपन इट।
एक मिनट।
डॉक्टर श्रीवास्तव की साइड से ही है शायद। Kindly check all your commands.
मैं आपका प्रेजेंटेशन मैंने भी रखा हुआ है, मैं उसी को शेयर पे डाल दूंगा।
It should be uploaded from here, right? It's not.
डॉक्टर एसएन का आवाज ही नहीं सुनाई दे रहे हैं।
अभी शुरू नहीं हुआ है, कल्पना जरा वेट।
ठीक है, आप डाल लो उसमें, अपने में डाल दो तो खुल जाएगा इधर। ये बोल देंगे उसे पीपीटी को।
शर्मा जी, दिखाई पड़ रहा है आपको स्क्रीन अब? स्क्रीन दिखाई पड़ रही है क्या?
हाँ दिखाई
पहले
पड़ रही
आया
है।
था, अभी नहीं
पढ़ रही
अभी
है।
आ रहा है।
आ गया आ गया आ गया आ गया आ गया।
दिख रहा है, दिख रहा है।
और कुछ
अब बस आ गए। ओके
आ गया आ गया आ गया।
आ गया।
शर्मा जी, डॉक्टर एसएन,
नमस्ते दीवन जी, नमस्ते प्रदीप जी।
नमस्ते नमस्ते नमस्ते।
Dr. Srivastava,
हाँ, आपको दिखाई पड़ रहा है?
but I am not able to move it actually. I'll send you on your mail and kindly then you have to control.
आप हाँ बोलते जाना, मैं कर रहा हूँ।
But I'm not able to see the slides properly.
इसको शो करिए, अभी शो करिए स्लाइड्स को।
नहीं, हमारा तो शो हो रहा है, बाकी लोगों को नहीं दिखाई पड़ रहा है।
नहीं हमें तो दिखाई पड़ रहा है।
we can see the slides, Dr. Sharma.
I am not able to see. I am not
Yeah.
able to see my slides actually.
Okay.
Let me send on mail, Dr. PK. It take 2 minutes, then you upload it, please. Hello.
हाँ ठीक है, भेजिए।
You have control actually.
नहीं नहीं, हमने कंट्रोल ऑन कर दिया है, आप दोबारा से शेयर करो।
And the mosquito act as a vector, which I have named as SOA, and the healthy human beings, they are acting as a soil so that they get infected, they get the inoculation of the parasite or the virus, then they get the symptom of the particular disease for which the virus or the pathogen is inside the body, being infected by the sower, that is mosquito vectors. Next, please. Next. If we talk about the vector-borne disease transmission in the urban situations, in particular, we have diseases, malaria, lymphatic filariasis, Japanese encephalitis, dengue, DHF, chikungunya, and we have the vectors in the urban areas, Anopheles species for malaria, then of course the Plasmodium vivax and falciparum we get in the urban situations. Then Culex quinquefasciatus is the main vector which we find in the urban situation. And of course, the agent is Wuchereria bancrofti. Though in some locations in Kerala, we have the Brugia melai causing lymphatic filariasis. In the urban situations, we have Culex vishnoi group, Titaniorhynchus, Bitinurhynchus, and we have the Japanese encephalitis reporting also from the urban situations. And we all are well aware that dengue DHF is transmitted by the Aedes aegypti, and all the 4 serotypes, DN1, 2, and 3, and 4, they are present in the urban areas. Next, please. Among these 4 major vectors of malaria, Anopheles culissifacis, Anopheles fluviatilis, Anopheles minimus, Anopheles indicus, Stephensii, and Dirus, we will talk only about the Anopheles Stephensii, which we find in the urban situations. And here, in the dengue vector, we get mostly the Aedes aegypti, but in the peri-urban situations, we may get or encounter the Aedes albopictus as well. And we'll talk about the Culex quinquefasciatus, which is responsible for lymphatic filariasis in certain situations, where we'll talk about the National Filaria Control Program. Japanese encephalitis is a disease which is now shifting from the rural areas to the even urban areas, and we'll talk about the larval breeding sources in the urban situations. And Kala jar, of course, we get sandfly. We may or may not encounter, in fact, these Kala jar cases, although in 4 states, Bihar, in the urban situation, we do get Kala jar cases. Next, please. Next slide. Srivastava sir, yeah. If we really look at these 3 major vector species, Anopheles Stephensii, Anopheles Aedes aegypti, and Culex quinquefasciatus, And talking very briefly about the vector biology, Anopheles stephensii, we all know, is a malaria vector. Aedes aegypti is a dengue vector, and Culex faciatus is filaria vector. Anopheles stephensii breeds in clean water. It is found in small receptacles, cemented overhead and underground tanks, construction sites, unused wells, water pools, unused wells, tankas. Mostly it is anthropophilic and endophilic and endophasic in nature, and it bites in late evening hours, and flight range remains very limited because basically we don't have much data generated in the recent, and based on the previous data, they say it is 1 to 3 kilometers, but I don't think so that it goes to like 1 to 3 kilometers. The flight range remains very limited based on the blood meal they get. And about the dengue vectors, it breeds in again clean water, and having small water containers like coolers, flower bays, tanks, earthen pots, unused tires, artificial fountains, overhead tanks, underground tanks. But this vector of dengue, Aedes aegypti, is highly anthropophilic. Endophilic in nature, endophasic, as a day biter. You can see here the biting time is during the daytime, and flight range again is very short, confined to actually the localized situations when the blood meal is available, that to basically human beings. Talking about the Culex faciatus, it is actually a nuisance mosquito, also responsible for the transmission of filaria, breeds in highly polluted water, drains, ditches, water pools, marshy lands, pits, stagnant water, sewages. But this mosquito is highly zoophilic in nature and exophagic and endophilic. It feeds preferably during dawn and dusk. Flight range, in fact, because it mostly feeds on animals, and of course the flight range is variable here. It can fly depending on the blood meal. Next, please. Can I request Dr. Srivastava next? Yeah. Now coming to the entomological aspects, actually in the urban area when we talk about the vectors and what actions we need to do in terms when we talk about the entomological intelligence dealing with these entomological aspects. First of all, we need to understand in fact what is the geographical area we are dealing. And recognize of the breeding places, the total survey on annual basis is the basic need to understand the dynamics of the breeding places, whether we are dealing vector of malaria, dengue, or even filaria or Culex. Now, mapping of each and every breeding place, whether it's a permanent or temporary, need to be done periodically, and the sector and ward-wise analysis of the measurement of those breeding aspects also, they are also to be noted, because we are going to undertake the anti-larval operations in those areas. Unless we do the assessment of the or the measurement of those areas, we are not able to, in fact, assess the exact requirement of the larvicides, which will be required to undertake the micro action plan proceedings based on the weekly beat programs. We do undertake, or we need to have keep in mind about the vector biological aspects, adult vector collections, means in the wards, in the random sites, in the fixed stations, and of course the larval collections are to be done, in fact, to cross-check the people who are undertaking those beat program or who are undertaking anti-larval operations pre and post anti-larval activities. Then of course the cross-checking is also being done by the insect collector which are deployed in the urban areas after the anti-larval operations in particular beat is being already done. Next, please. Srivastava sir, next slide. Yeah. Now everyone actually knows it, but we need to see, in fact, how to actually analyze those sort of breeding places depending on or deciding the particular insecticide to be actually given to those squares which will be undertaking the anti-larval operations. we already know that this Stephens eye is the main vector in the urban areas, and we need to list all the water storages, cement tanks, overhead tanks, construction site, the unused wells, cisterns, and even if there is any project area, what is the building potential of that area that need to be taken into consideration. And it's now actually a part of the program under Vector-Borne Disease Control Program, Urban VBD, that we need to undertake a survey of the indoor and outdoor breeding places of the dengue vector as well. So all those actually potential breeding spots where really there is a chance of the density buildup after the monsoon season for the dengue vector, we need to list off and take actions on those. And of course, the peri-urban areas or some rural areas, adjoining areas or buffer zone around the urban situations may be having certain drainages, pools, marshy lands, where we may have these marshy lands or some cultivation of the rice fields, and where really we can have the presence of JE vectors in those areas, and what actions are to be undertaken that need to be a part of the micro-action plan under the anti-larval operations when we are targeting those vectors. Next, please. Now, the concept of urban malaria was actually considered by the government of India long back, because around 11% of the total malaria was actually contributing to the total number of malaria cases in the country by only 10 urban towns of the Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu. And given the situation that burdened the load of the disease, the government of India thought, or the Madhok committee recommended, that we need to start the anti-larval and anti-parasitic measures in the urban areas, and under the modified plan of operation, this was recommended. To begin with, in fact, in different phases, 87 towns were included. They were brought into the scheme of the urban malaria, and it was again extended to the 17 additional towns. Then total 131 towns were included or made functional rather under the urban malaria scheme. But here the main emphasis was given that the municipal corporations, they will actually take the responsibility to run the show where they are there, where the corporations are existing. The other towns, they will be taken care by the state government respectively. Next, please. Oh, here I want to point out actually.
शर्मा जी आप भी अनाउंस कर दो एक बार, बीच में दो लोगों का कुछ म्यूट नहीं हो रहा है.
Because I am not able to get into here, please check it. Why actually there is a disturbance? You know, I request all actually those please check actually, and they remain unmuted, and give the silence actually. Now I was mentioning about the previous slide, sir. Previous slide. Yeah, this is a very important slide, and I wanted to see why actually we differentiate the urban and rural strategy in terms of when we deal with the malaria. In fact, during prior to the MPO, modified plan of operation, in fact there was a two type of strategies. First, the rural strategy comprised of the active surveillance. Of course, the passive surveillance through our primary health center existed there, but each and every house was actually visited fortnightly basis to screen the population, those who are suffering from fever, and their slides was collected. But in the urban situations, under the urban malaria scheme, only the passive case detection was existing, no active surveillance, because no, it's very difficult, and there was no workforce also. And then only the microscopy was the tool which was existing in the urban areas, that to be in the passive agency where the microscopic centers were existing. Now, after that, the bivalent these tests, or they came in fact, and although in the PSC and CSC, the microscopic these facilities, they existed. Now coming to the vector control, which is very important, the indoor residual spray was the mainstay in the rural areas. Whereas during the in the urban situations, due to the construction or well polished house, pakka house is cemented house, and the keeping in view that the anti-larval operations were thought, because the poor acceptance of the IRS in the urban situations, it was not actually thought worthwhile. That it was planned that all those areas where these urban malaria scheme have been initiated, anti-larval operations will be undertaken on fortnightly basis. And after that, small population were really in the peripheral or slum clusters, they were included, of course, under IRS. And in the rural areas where there were positive cases of malaria, there was a focal spray with the special round of DET where the malaria cases. In the urban situations where there used to be positive cases, we used to take space spray with pyrethrum extract, 50 houses we used to cover. So this is how a main difference in the strategy of the rural and urban malaria in particular. Next slide, Dr. Srivastava. Now to give a very brief that what was the main objective at that point of time, that actually the main emphasis in the urban malaria scheme was that we need to reduce the vector population to that level that there is no transmission takes place. And to minimize that population, unless we sample or survey the main breeding places, the whole area is to be covered under anti-larval operations. That was the main thrust. And of course, there was a main emphasis that there need to be actually reduction in the mortality and morbidity through the early case detection and the prompt treatment. And the towns which were having population minimum 40,000 and the annual parasite incidence more than 2, they were included. And the third condition was the local town need to have actually the bylaws with them existing. So these were the 3 conditions, in fact, when these towns were included under the urban malaria scheme. Next, please. Now, strategy basically, just I mentioned that the anti-larval measures on weekly intervals, they are the main thrust areas. Of course, along with that, where we can have some source reduction measures, small land filling, drainage, channelization, small engineering method, or some debedding, if it can be done. There are certain big water bodies where really the biological control methods by the introduction of larval species can be undertaken. They were the mainstay. And besides these anti-larval measures, the anti-parasitic measures actually through the pesticide agencies were there in the program and are still there, that we need to detect those cases, and complete treatment of those cases is to be done promptly. Next. Now this is very important. When the urban malaria scheme was started, now we name it as urban VBD scheme. You see, the staffing pattern was such that the whole area was actually covered at that point of time. Because depending on the municipal area, it was divided that 10 square mile area, which comes to about 25.6 square mile, that we divided actually each ward. This municipal area wards were divided into sectors, and each sector comprised of 1 square mile area, which comes to about 2.66 square meter. So one ward comprised of 10 sectors, means 10 square mile area, where there was a norm of sanctioning 1 biologist or anti-larval, anti-malaria officer with 1 inspector and 1 insect collector. Then you see the staff given here, the superior field worker and 3 field workers which were responsible for the anti-larval operations in that 1 sector. Next, please. I'll not go in detail, but these are the three activities where really we need to undertake. In fact, now not only giving emphasis to malaria, but in fact, the diagnosis and treatment part will come in all the disease control. I'll not say parasitic control, but the vector control will also deal with all the vector-borne diseases aspects. Now, maybe source reduction, maybe larviciding, or maybe biological control. Of course, the other supportive activities in terms of monitoring, evaluation, intersectoral coordination, ICC, BCC activities, or whatever we have been doing for community awareness campaigns, all are to be done for not only malaria but all the vector-borne diseases under the urban VVD schemes. Next, please. Now, looking at this data, of course, whatever reports are being coming to the programs, what does this slide shows? I'll not go in the authenticity or regarding the data being given by the states or the towns, but main thing is you see the PF percentage is very low. Here, if out of the total cases, the main means the P-Vivex cases are more prevalent in these urban VVD towns. That is and the death rate or the mortality is also going down. That actually is very important here. And now I'll talk about the malaria elimination in the urban situations, how we need to deal it in the next slides. Next, please. Looking at the 3 metro towns, again, the same indications that out of total cases, PF percentage is very minimal, and PF outbreaks occurs only when you see the migratory population or there are certain construction activity. They come, the migratory population, the labor, they come from the high endemic area to those metro or mega cities for construction work and carry the parasitic reservoir there, and they help in building up the transmission, local transmission there. So that's how, and we need to focus our attention to those pockets in particular. Next, please. This is very important, and to understand, in fact, when we have, or the country has declared the elimination of 3 vector-borne diseases, mainly malaria, lymphatic filariasis, and Kala-Azar. In the urban situation, if we look at, in fact, how to divide actually the category 1, category 2, and category 3, our main aim should be that we need to bring down 0 indigenous case, whether it's a sector, a ward, or a town. We need to understand and stratify the area based on the annual parasite incidence. And when we come down to API below sector, then really we go for the case-based actually. Then API has no meaning when we deal with the sector and even small locality. So we need to understand case-based actually investigations and case-based, in fact, the vector control or the other measures. So this is very important, and we need to bring down the category 3 stages to category 2 and category 1, then case-based to 0 case. And again, in the urban situation, the problem remains the indigenous case and the migratory case. And we need to define again which is migratory case and which is indigenous case. If the local transmission is going on in a given area, then you will establish by the investigation that, of course, the case has been there for more than 1 month and the vector has played role in the transmission. And migratory case would be that if the case has come from the endemic area and has been reported before 15 days or 20 days, then you can label it. And most of the people, they are actually labeling those cases after 1 month or 2 months or 3 months if they have gone outside. We need to understand actually the dynamics, local ecological features, the vector presence, and of course the migration history while deciding these indigenous case or the migratory case. Next, Dr. Srivastava, please. Now, these are the main strategic component. In fact, I have already mentioned about the phasing, stratification also, how we need to do micro stratification based on the API, then up to the case-based, in fact, and then coming to the 0 transmission or the zero transmission of that. But the main emphasis we need to have actually to the all states and towns whether really the malaria has been made as a notifiable disease or not. Because the problem remains in the urban situations, the cases being reported to the private sectors, private practitioners. What is the load in fact they are carrying it? Are we really listing them? Because in some towns, it's a good practice that in the weekly basis, monthly basis, all the data from the private sector is being collected and analyzed, and each and every case is being investigated by them. So we need to see that all the cases are investigated, they are line listing, and ensuring these supervised treatment also. Of course, we need to main emphasis we need to put on the slum clusters, construction sites, of course, the migratory population I have already talked, and the important aspect of the enactment of the bylaws remains. In fact, we have been putting a lot of efforts, even for dengue control also in Delhi, in Mumbai, in Kolkata, in Chennai. So we are facing a lot of difficulty for the enactment of the bylaws because it's the community attitude, and we need to do something where really we can actually put certain bylaws in terms of some strict rules, fines, so that at least we can minimize the problem of dengue and malaria in our country, in the urban areas in particular. Next. Now again here, most of the things remain same, but the important aspect here, I would like to highlight that cross notification of the imported cases, because it has been a problem, even cross notification within states, outside the states, within districts, outside the districts, and even within the urban towns also. There have been migration. You cannot stop the migration, but the people will come and go. But we need to treat the patient wherever the patient is. If it is positive, the local program manager need to report or cross notify that this is the case. I have investigated, found positive, or even given radical treatment. All the vector control measures are to be undertaken. From there, the migration has taken place. So all those things are to be put in mind. And of course, the problem of supervised radical treatment in particular with regard to P-Vivax is becoming a very difficult phenomena when we deal with the malaria elimination here in particular. And the other issue is here the cross-checking of the slides, the quality or assurance. When we introduce the RDT in the programs, after that the microscopy is not being paid that much attention, and I don't know, even the technicians, they are more dependent on the RDTs, and in terms of the sensitivity and specificity of the RDTs, it is very difficult. And unless we go for the standard microscopy, which is a golden standard, we will not be able to eliminate malaria, because unless all the stages, even after the radical treatment and follow-up, we need to actually go very critically for that, because in the low densities, even after giving the radical treatment, if we really want to see the elimination of the parasite, RDT are not going to help you. And even in the pre-elimination stage, for the diagnosis purpose, there are certain areas, even in the urban or mega towns, where really outreach sessions are needed. Where really, I'll talk about the NUHM, where really effort have been made to actually outreach those populations which are very, very vulnerable. Next, please. Now coming to the integrated vector management, we have been taking actually one-sided measures in terms of the targeting the Stephen's eye. But again, we need to think of even taking all precautions, all measures, anti-larval measures and reductions, source reduction methods for the dengue vectors, and even for taking the other measures, engineering methods, proper drainage for the Culex mosquitoes, actually breeding places also, proper drainage system, all short of, where really the nuisance mosquitoes are also a matter of concern when we really deal with the vector population in the anti-larval operations. Now coming to other methods of biological source reductions and insecticide resistance, again, we need to actually point out importantly here that because since we are dealing with the urban VVDs, more emphasis is being done on fogging operations. I must highlight here what amount we are spending on fogging, and the guidelines of the program are very clear that unless there is outbreak situations, we are not to encourage and recommend actually fogging operations. In case we are a good program managers in my area, if I don't allow the mosquito vectors to breed, and I take actually proactive measures to reduce the mosquito population, there's no need. In fact, We all know it. If there's a compulsion, political, there may be some other compulsions, but we need to, as a technical people, we need to actually discourage that. That is why my humble submission. No, a lot of money is being spent in mega cities worth crore of rupees that need not to be wasted. Next, please. IEC, BCC, we have been doing long, and there have been no very success also in terms of advocacy, in terms of no, we have the political commitment presently, we have the policy makers with us, and even dealing with the community, we are facing a problem. In fact, the mega cities, we have all type of peoples, very rich people, there's a middle income group, there's a low income group, then there's a very poor socioeconomic group. So all sort of people, in fact, and to deal with them for the program, it becomes. And unless we have the IEC, BCC activity targeting those population for the target group, it remains very difficult. Although we have been involving residential welfare associations, we are including the Indian Medical Association, NGOs, and even the religious leaders. There have been very good role. In fact, we have been involving the school teachers and children in the prevention and control of dengue in particular. So it has been very good. And of course, the notification and the enacted bylaws, they are also a part where really we need to take into practice actually those strategic component also for the control of VBDs in urban areas. Next, please. I would not go in detail because already the person who will deal with the details or the dengue vectors. But what I want to actually tell here, that different types of breeding habitats we find. The dengue vector is is establishing all over the world, all over the country, all over the states, all over the districts, all over the villages, in all areas. It is coming up and established. Once this dengue vector establishes, in fact, and it's very difficult to even understand the mother foci when the transmission is low with regard to dengue vector. So if you are a good entomologist and vector control specialist, we need to see and map the hotspots, means which act as a mother foci. And if we keep and take some actions on the mother foci, the shifting of the their breeding habitat from cement to earthen to plastic, and across all the breeding places, we can prevent a lot, in fact. But you need a very good planning to control the dengue vector in particular. Be sure it's very difficult. Once it is established, you will be doing all ICC, BCC or community involvement. Nothing will happen. Even a small number of the Aedes aegypti mosquitoes, they are able to transmit the dengue vector. So you see, the one female Aedes aegypti can bite 8 to 10 persons taking blood, full blood meal. And if it is already infected, you can see the severity of the disease, how one Aedes mosquito female can do in a local population. So next, please. There have been effort, in fact, in the 12th plan, our 5-year plan, and Dr. Srivastava did a lot of efforts, in fact, when we thought the population of the urban areas is increasing horizontally and vertically. And with the norms which we were having earlier, actually they are not sufficient. And we need to have a diagnostic facility, and it was suggested that one clinic for 20,000 population, in fact, with a special focus to the slum clusters was done, and it was approved. And in fact, how best we could do for that population, because most of the cases, they were being reported from the slum clusters in the metro cities. And of course, there was a thrust that we need to involve the other sectors. It's not the health department alone is responsible in the urban areas for the vector control, but the other departments, they play a role in creating actually the mosquito-genic conditions. So why not to rope up actually those department in terms of diagnosis, treatment, and reporting also. Now other methods also, they were taken into consideration for that. Next slide, please. Now coming to, in fact, NUHM, no, we had a criteria of the 2 API and 40,000 population initially, but under the National Health Mission, there are two components now: National Rural Health Mission and National Urban Health Mission. So there was a lot of scope, in fact, in the health programs. Then that all the urban areas now are to be put under the umbrella of NUHM, and a lot of additional inputs were put under the NUHM, and those who understand actually that all the towns where really the towns having more than 50,000 population, they qualify under the National Urban Health Mission. And these urban health mission mean basically for all the health facilities, not only for vector-borne disease, that they will be confined to the slum area where the people, the low socio-economic group, or the migratory laborers, or the construction workers, or the rickshaw pullers, they are there. That was mainly to benefit those peoples. Next, please. Now there was some augmentation, in fact, just like the rural setup where we have, in fact, the sub-center, we have the primary health center, the community health center. Similarly here, the urban health mission also, it was augmented in terms of the HR or the other urban local bodies, that there should be urban PSCs or urban CSCs, so that the diagnostic part, in fact, and the treatment part is strengthened, where really the first, second, and tertiary level facilities, because they are to not to be burdened on the tertiary level facilities. So it was, augmentation was actually suggested that the urban areas in those National Urban Health Mission towns, they need to have these core strategies, and based on that, they need to do the planning. Next, please. Now, this is very important, in fact, though, as we have the ASHA worker in the rural areas, because we are not taking benefit in the NUHM as far as the vector-borne disease control program is involved. I don't think so. The Mahila Ayog Samiti are helping in the urban VBDs also, because they are the key person where really, just like in rural areas, we have the ASHAs, here also we have the urban ASHAs now present. And they are also conducting the outreach sessions. The urban PSC also, we are having the microscopic center or the passive agencies inbuilt now where all facilities exist. Similarly, urban CSCs where we have the beds actually, if the cases are critical in terms of falciparum, in terms of dengue, in terms of diagnosis, so it is actually to be taken care of them. So we need to tap them, these service delivery mechanism. In the National Urban Health Mission, where we have the Mahila Arogya Samiti, the outreach sessions are being conducted because there are slum clusters, weekly sessions by these, and the urban PSCs, urban CSCs, they need to be tapped for the VVD program as well. Next, please. Next, please. Now, here I have tried to put, in fact, dealing with the urban VVDs, what are the components which are related with us, dealing with the urban VVDs. If I talk with regard to diagnosis and treatments, starting from the base, where the outreach services at the community levels are there. For example, we need to have the slum clusters, there the ASHAs, urban ASHAs are available. And even the slide collections and the testing with RDT, even small sort of communications or awareness or the vector population or for searching the dengue vector can be undertaken. And we have above them with the ASHAs, the inbuilt mechanism of the health workers. Although we have the multi-purpose health workers, but the female health workers, they are there who can act. And we have the ASHA norms there, urban ASHA, one ASHA per 2,000 slum population. So I do not know how much actually they are being involved in the VBDs now. And then the first point of service delivery with the urban PSC, where really the diagnostic facilities, there's no need to rush to the tertiary level, but here we have the facilities for diagnosis and treatment for the vector-borne diseases. I'm not talking about malaria, now dealing with all vector-borne diseases. We have here even the healthcare workers, ASHA, there's a ANM is available there. 4 ANMs per UPSCs are there. where we have this 50,000 population. First point of referral, of course, from the PSC, there's a CSCs, and then the second referral, there's a sentinel site or sentinel hospital. So this is actually all norms with regard to diagnostic and treatment exist in the NUHM. That's what I want to submit here, that we can deal urban VBDs as far as diagnostic and treatment part is concerned. Next, please. Now, this is actually a very difficult situation with regard to vector control part, which was not existing now at the time of actually this NUHM. But from the program angle, we took actually this matter to the NUHM, and in the program, it was suggested that in the vector control part, let's have these component also in the urban CSC, urban PSC, where really the vector control component would be there, just like urban malaria scheme, where really the field workers, SFW, malaria inspectors, and urban BVD officer would be there to look into that area which is catering the need. In fact, one small area of the sector ward will be taken care by the respective urban PSC and urban CSCs likewise. So this component was agreed upon, and these are the crucial component which in the urban areas, including mega cities, the smaller cities or these towns is now well built and need to be strengthened. Next, please. Now, these are my last two slides, which are very important and need attention here, because we have been facing COVID-19 situation, since the beginning of this year. And I do not know what linkages actually we have or we could make with regard to the prevention and control of VBDs. So situation is very grim, and we do not know exact load of the disease, in fact. And we do not have any assessment or the vector monitoring also, whether really what role the vectors, they have played role in the transmission of vector-borne diseases. That actually we can assess or we can verbally talk, but we do not have the data, in fact, on the ground. And unless we establish the linkages now in terms of even diagnosis, in terms of treatment, in terms of vector control, it would be very difficult, in fact, for the future one. And we have been listening our senior colleagues, in fact, they are also worried, not only at the national level, globally also it is worried that how we need to establish linkage of the VBDs with the other programs, and including the challenges being faced by the COVID in the country. And other actually is, see the poor vector control response in the urban areas. We have been talking about the global vector control response or the country national vector control response. But where are the entomologists, in fact, who will generate the data, who will give response to the vector control? So we need to think of, and really I am sure that, something is being done, in fact. And those people who are young, who are actually fresh, and who are really motivated and dynamic, they need to take over now, because the time has come when these people, as we are grooming this, thanks to Dr. R.S. Sharma and Dr. Srivastava for taking this capacity building. But unless this capacity building goes to the ground and work and yield some result, generate some authentic data, in fact, to show a path and plan actually to the country, to the districts, to the states, and nothing will actually get improved as far as VBD is concerned. So taking into practice the capacity building, going to the ground and showing the result would be actually, will be very happy, in fact, if it happens. Personally, me, so if I'm looking forward for that. And reporting from private practitioner is again very big challenge. We have been struggling hard, but we are getting success also, because many of the private practitioners are now reporting the malaria cases after the notification of the malaria has been made notifiable disease. Some clusters have been challenged. We need to monitor them in terms of the migration of the population and construction activity. We are to keep watch, and of course the other activities we need to take. But the other challenge remains the increase in the areas vertically and horizontally. Are we really in a position now to deal with that situation, which was approved during MPO 1977? Most of the people, they have gone, retired. Now, even those people which were norms, as per the norm sanction posts, they have not been filled up, not to talk of the increased area. So we need not to actually think of that. Even the workers which are present, which in very minimal numbers, they will deal with COVID, they will deal vector-borne, even the whole area also. and even the stories which are around 10 or 12 or 18 or stories, and how those poor fellows are be involved or are to be involved actually to deal with vector-borne disease, not only malaria, all VVTs. So this is actually a challenge. The last slide, Dr. Srivastava, I'll be grateful if you put that. This is actually few recommendations I want to give effect to the House. I don't know how they reach it to the government, but this is very important. The time has come when we need to strengthen the urban VBTs. We do not have many vector control experts now who are actively involved now, because most of our senior colleagues, we are retired, we are outside, we are supporting the programs, but who will take over now? The challenge has come. Unless the people, the young people, they are in place, they are regular, they take actually on their shoulders, it will be difficult. So there is a need, now we need to strengthen the urban VBTs as a whole, from the district, state, even country level as well. And entomological surveillance for all vector-borne diseases we are talking, but we are not talking about the sandfly collections, ticks, mites, fleas. So we need to also look forward in the urban areas that what is actually the exact position in terms of surveillance. We do know it, but we need to monitor the data in terms of their biology. Even the biology of the Stephensii is old, which we are talking, even for the Aedes also and Culex also. We need to generate data in what way they are working in different ecotypes, so that will help us to plan our control strategies. Other point is very important, and Dr. Srivastava knows it, that National Filaria Control Program was there when there were 206 National Filaria Control Program unit, 199, actually there were filaria clinics and 26 survey units. What happened to those, in fact? Because all these larvicide or anti-larval operations were the same in the National Filaria Control Program also. What is the future? Actually, they have been merged when the MDA program was launched. What is happening there in terms of vector control? Whether really some data is being generated? What is the future of dengue there? What is the future of malaria there? Besides the filaria also. So although MDA and the elimination processes will there, but are we really monitoring the data on the vector front when we talk about the entomological intelligence and entomological aspects in the urban areas? So we are not having any updated information of 206 National Filaria Control Program units in the country, where actually the all were merged with the filaria MDA program. So anyhow, this is the important point, and we need to establish the linkages also if we really want to take something forward. And the coordination between the state government and the municipal corporation has been always on the forefront. And unless actually there is a complete understanding, there is a coordination, there is a no brotherhood, in fact. So I think the vector-borne diseases control program would be difficult, whether it's a financial aspect, whether it's technical, or even taking the ownership. Actually, we need to fix the ownership and accountability also, in case really we want to do something with regard to the vector-borne diseases in the urban areas. And of course, the NUHM guidelines are there. We need to follow up them, really how the NUHM guidelines are synchronized with the program implementation with regard to vector-borne disease. Are we actually lacking something, or where really we stand presently? And are we getting all support from the NUHM for all the towns? I don't think so. The NUHM money is being given to the urban towns or the mega cities properly, the way they are putting in their PIPs or ROPs. So this is a very important point, that unless the funding support by the NUHM and the program implementation as per the guidelines is done, I don't think so we'll get success. Although we are doing to our level best. And the other point remains the use of the approved larvicides and insecticides. There has been always controversy that the corporations, the other towns, they are not following the NVDCP guidelines. We need to actually take into consideration actually what measures we can undertake. All these, there is a program which actually a lot of effort is being made, and in collaboration with our ICMR institutions, we have been putting hard work, in fact, in framing the guidelines and in the approval of these insecticide or larvicides to be put in the program appropriately. So there should not be violation of using the improper actually use of the other insecticide which are not approved by the program. And the other points remains again with the staff, the infrastructures, domestic checkers. They have been put in place on casual basis, paid salary after 3 months, 6 months, very low paid. All the contractual staff, not only domestic checker, even the consultants, even the district people, they need to give a handsome salary plus regularization. So this is actually the recommendation can go. In fact, we need, unless we support them, so it will be very difficult to get really the good yield from the staff. And we need to morally support them. And lastly, we need to, a time has come when we really need to assess, because there was assessment log back during 77, the larvicides per million population requirement. Now we need to see what staffing pattern is required as per the VBD situation, not only malaria, as per the VBD situations, when the vertical and horizontal expansion of the towns have taken place or is going to take place. So we need to take all these points. These are my few recommendations. If really the House want to discuss, we can discuss. Thank you very much, all of you, for your patience hearing. Although there were technical flaws, although there may be flaws in my speak also. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. S.N. Sharma, for excellent presentation on urban vector-borne diseases, and along with the entomological aspects, along with your suggestions, recommendations. No doubt you have covered, I think, each and everything under urban malaria scheme and now urban vector-borne control scheme. So we have already crossed 1 hour. So I request Dr. Srivastava either conclude it or I have gone through all questions. So I request all the participants, please ask the questions related to topic. We have all topics. Don't worry about PY-West, motility in PY-West. So there are some questions like that. We will reply and we will send PPT to everybody. So Dr. Srivastava, just see whether it is feasible or not. Either you conclude it.
Thank you, Dr. Sharma, both Dr. R.S. Sharma and Dr. S.N. Sharma. Dr. S.N. Sharma, I'm really very happy. First, let me apologize, because I'm also not a very fine computer expert. I tried to do maximum things, but somehow I feel sorry that there was some initial disturbance in this presentation. And I believe that most of the people, they are aware, most of the people are from program, except few people. Some of the people, they have joined in the last minute. So I request all of them that they should do. Dr. Sharma has presented a very nice thing. He has taken forward, this was the urban malaria book, which was written long back. And this is the National Filaria NFCP book, which was also written somewhere in 95. Now, the issue is what Dr. Sharma has highlighted, that we have to suggest those people who are working in the program, they have to go through all these literature and update their knowledge. And then they should try to what happened? They should try to convince their people high ups that, look here, there is one system of getting the urban malaria scheme sanctioned, for which there should be commitment from both the sides. State proposal has to be submitted with a commitment that they will support HR, and then central will support. So these are anyway policy issues. This will be discussed somehow by the other speakers. I have certain announcement, question and answer. There is no time, so we will be answering by mail. I have got 3-4 announcements for all the people. Kindly focus it. Then if there is some discussions, very important points we'll do.
Can I make a submission?
Yes, sir.
Sir, I am happy to announce you that the courses on urban pest management, which includes major mosquito and other vector-borne disease management, they are approved by the Ministry of Skill Development.
Dr. Mohan Rao, let me finish because we have to follow certain things. Let me finish because the time is up. Just I'll give you the chance.
Sure,
please.
sure.
Please.
Thank you.
So I was just making some announcement that Urban malaria scheme from 81 to 20, 186 towns sanctioned, but only 131, which Dr. Sharma told. NFCP he referred from 1955 to 78, it was merged to NBBDCP with 206 towns, now it is 209 towns. Now, where are those people? Somewhere filaria inspector, somewhere rented accommodation, somewhere nothing, somewhere integration, some state. So our own people, they have to give the total guidelines, but unless you go through all those papers, that is the purpose of this learning session, that you update your knowledge, otherwise this will remain in the books only. The second announcement, that we started this technical session, which Dr. Sharma was appreciating, that we discussed with Dr. S.N. Sharma also, ISMO CD platform. There are some efforts on SOV also. There are some efforts on National Academy of Vector-Borne Disease also. There are other societies also they were trying. But this is exclusively for the program people, for program orientation. And in addition, there are some students who are joined from the university who are MSc Zoology and Entomology. So they should know where their scope for health setup in the program is. The another announcement is that if there is any problem for the participants who are registered, they are not getting, they can always check www.absolutehumanhealth.care Foundation, AHCF, www.absolutehumancarefoundation.com, and you can see this whole about our foundation. Then there is, we created one group initially on the first session. There was some technical problem which I do not want to share here, but certain, after one day we collecting this information, and then now that has increased the workload by sending email to everybody. Most of the people, they don't see their email, so we have to send individually their WhatsApp. We will revive that group in a different name, so please support. And I also request the senior people who have joined with us. There are many senior people who are well experienced. Some people are more than us, they have experience. So if they want to say something or support the person who is talking or delivering on that particular aspect, if they want to support, they can always put in their chat box, and that will be taken into account and will be communicated to that. Thank you very much from our side. Dr. Mohan Rao, you wanted to share something?
Yes, sir.
Please do quickly.
One is information, second one is a suggestion. I will tell first suggestions. See, Dr. Sharma has given an excellent presentation, in fact, and he has mentioned about IEC is one of the points. In IEC, what I feel is, my experience also is, there should be macro level planning as well as micro level planning for different IEC activities. Macro level, when I have done for Leptospirosis example, I have taken up at state level first, then district level, and then I have gone down up to villages where the problem is very high. Secondly, when it comes to micro level, we have to be very specific about contact point and what are the action points. Coming to information for you is, as I said a little while ago, the National Institute of Rural Development and Panchayat Raj, it has developed several courses on skill-based pest management in different sectors. And urban pest management is one sector in local bodies. Now for local bodies, when we have prepared the material, our experts have participated. And of course, Vijula was there and our other experts were also there for all major corporations yet managed the meeting. And based on that, we have prepared actually the not only curriculum, but also workbooks and guide for the trainers. Now, the Skill Development Ministry made a review last week, and almost it is at the verge of approval of these courses. Once that comes up, sir, what I request the NVBDCP and other concerned authorities is, the material developed, the courses developed by the NIRD can be utilized in a positive way for common good of everybody, especially, mosquito-borne diseases are in high rise. and we can definitely tackle them, provided we generate more technical manpower, for which I developed all these courses. Thank you very much, sir.
May I speak something?
Kalpana, हाँ, okay, okay,
Your
Kalpana.
mic is mute.
Dr. Mohan Rao, thank you very much. Precisely, I must remind everybody that this is not an NVVDCP platform purely, but however, we have got our own colleague from NVVDCP, very senior colleague, who is heading the vector-borne disease. He wants to say something. Kalpana, please.
Yeah,
Sir,
Dr.
this is
Yeah,
information for all
just
the
responding to Dr. Mohan Rao's statement. Sir, you must be knowing that government NVVDCP has been trying to bring all these partners to one platform. We have been writing to the Ministry of this Rural Development and Panchayati Raj. We are issuing various advisories, request letter from our secretary through your secretaries. But now through this platform, I have come to know that you have developed guideline, and these things are going parallelly. But somewhere we have to merge. So if you are developing the guideline, I don't know whether it is in sync with the program guideline or not. So it will be always appreciable if you always take the program in confidence and come together. Probably in the rural areas, you are a partner for us. So through this platform, I am requesting you, please, you share your document with us and how you are implementing it, so that we can also chip into your program and the many of our problems in the rural areas and the panchayat and no panchayat areas, it will be taken care of. Yeah, you want to say something, Dr. Rao? Yeah, please.
Sorry. Dr. Mohan Rao, Dr. Kalpana Barua. This is between you two people about deciding these policy matters. Okay, sorry. Our platform this learning. Okay, you are a learned person. Dr. Kalpana is a well-learned person. So please, we have already crossed 1 hour. Number one, this is not a discussion point. Our object is to orient our VBD consultant, biologist, and entomologist. This is our job.
I beg to differ. Sir. You are discussing the program here. Dr. SN has discussed totally the UMS program. If this platform is different and you are not bringing any issue regarding DVD, then
Dr. Kapana, he's telling about guidelines, pest management. Pest management is not responsibility of NVDC. I'm saying like
no, this is not pest management. I know.
Vector management in urban areas, and mostly it covers mosquito. And Dr. S.N. Sharma is one of the pioneers who has participated in this program. He knows everything.
Mohan Raoji, he knows everything. Dr. Barua also knows everything. I request that our platform is to learning. Okay, so we are not against your this pest management guideline. That things. We know each and everything. We spent whole life in NVDCP. Dr. Srivastav and my all colleagues sitting. Dr. Gira is there. Paliwal is there. Dr. Sina is there. They were the state entomologists. So everybody knows everything. So my request that we can give some time to our VBD consultants or entomologists or biologists. This is my request. Whether you accept it or not, that is up to you. We have crossed 1 hour. Discussion. Dr. Kalpana Barua is our colleague. We know what is happening in the program. But now today topic was urban vector-borne disease.
Okay, Dr. Sharma, I am getting from the reminder from the Zoom that please close it, otherwise they will charge extra. So the time has come to say bye-bye to everyone. Thank you, Dr. R.R. Sharma, who is our director. He will be able to tell something and then quickly close it, please. Dr. Sharma, please. Dr. R.R. Sharma, please. Dr. R.R. Sharma, अपना mic unmute करिए.
Sir, I compliment Dr. S.N. Sharma, first of all, for his very highly professional, informative presentation. And I just only touch to one point. He talks about recommendations. So Dr. R.S. Sharma, Dr. Srivastav, this is a platform which has been created for the training what we are talking today. So if all experts are also there. So my request is there that if there is an issue to be taken up by the foundation and all the experts, Dr. R.S. Sharma ji, I request you that you can take it into consideration, how these recommendations can be taken forward. Thank you very much once again. Thanks a lot, Dr. Srivastava.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. We hope to see you tomorrow again, same time. Thank you
Good
very
night.
much. Bye.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Good night. Good night, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Good night, sir. Very wonderful seminar. Good night, everyone.